Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. For today guys, I'm going to do part 163 to my ChatGPT character chatbot series, where in today's video guys, we're going to try another one of the story characters that I told ChatGPT to make itself. However, this one seems like it might be a little bit better. One of the Ice and Wyverns we did the other day did work out, but it definitely could have been a lot better. This one, from the what I read at the bottom, seems like it might actually be good. Um, so yeah, this is called Terran the Title Guardian. And basically, guys, you know how there was a massive Excalibur that was angry at people? I don't know believe how this Totodile is, but apparently this Totodile is over 10,000 feet tall. That's insane. His foot would probably be taller than a 10-story building. Which is gonna be kind of crazy. I ain't got much time for the game mode starts, guys. I'm gonna do it off camera, even if it's a storm mode, because I'm not gonna get irritated by people and then say that's a bunch of nasty stuff on YouTube on here. So, yeah, I'm gonna read what it says here for the beginning of the story. The title of the story is called "The Colossus of the Tides, Totodile, the Title Guardian," and here it goes. It says backstory of the 10,000-foot tall Totodile, Terran the Title Guardian. Long before the age of humans, before even the legendaries had carved their myths into history, the world's oceans were guarded by ancient beings born of primal energy. Among these titans was Terran, a Totodile unlike any other, towering at 10,000 feet. His very movements could cause tsunamis, and his laughter, booming like rolling thunder, could shake entire mountain ranges. Terran was not always this colossal. He was once an ordinary Totodile, mischievous and playful, raised on a remote island untouched by modern civilization. One day, while wandering through deep tide pools, he discovered a mysterious glowing shell buried in the sand. When he bit into it curiously, the shell shattered, revealing an ancient power known as the Heart of the Ocean, a forgotten source of elemental energy older than Arceus himself. The Heart of the Ocean didn't just make Terran bigger, it changed the very fabric of his being. His body absorbed the force of the tides, his skin shimmered like ocean stone, and his eyes turned into swirling whirlpools, one sapphire blue, the other deep abysmal black. He continued to grow, taller than mountains, until it became one with the horizon itself. But with his growth came isolation. The Pokemon of the island fled in fear. The humans who eventually arrived saw him only as a destructive force. They attacked him with weapons, legendaries, and machines, but he never fought back out of hatred. He only grew more defensive, more confused, and, in time, more angry. His once playful heart grew weary, and Terran earned the name, the Title Guardian, a god of destruction to some, a tragic protector to others. He remained hidden beneath the deepest trench in the world, asleep for centuries, until the day something woke him. Oh dear. The Awakening. A powerful storm rolled over the ocean, and a missile test conducted by humans accidentally struck near Terran's resting place. He rose from the ocean like a living island, his body glowing with eternal blue light as waterfalls cascaded from his massive jaws. Excuse me? He can like water. Okay. The world shook in terror. He did not speak. He roared. The military launched everything they had. Even legendaries like Rayquaza and Kyogre joined to try and contain him. But all Terran wanted was to find peace, to return to the island where he was born. But it no longer existed, soiled by rising seas and human expansion. Holy crap. A beast of habit and a heart that hurts. Despite his perceived aggression, Terran was still Totodile at heart, curious, excitable, but deeply sensitive. His rage was never random, it came from hurt. Every missile, every cry of fear, reminded him that no one had even tried to understand him. Every time he was attacked, he grew slightly bigger. Excuse me? Not in body, but in bitterness. I was about to say. Yet there was a legend whispered by sea monks and ancient families of water types. The guardian does not crave power, he craves kindness. The first who dares touch his snout with love, not fear, shall awaken the true Toad inside. Oh, that sounds dope as heck, actually. No one had ever tried. I happily will if he'll let me. What happens if you do show him love, oh dear? If you approach Terran, not with weapons or fear, but with genuine love, something truly miraculous happens. His body begins to glow not with a rageful red, but with calming, brilliant blue. His massive eyes, like stormy whirlpools, soften. His towering figure, terrifying to most, lowers gently to the ground as he humbles himself before the one person who gave him what he always needed, care. His heart, long hardened by rejection, begins to beat with warmth again. He becomes protective, not just of the person who showed him love, but of everything they care about. He listens, learns, and even tries to communicate in his own enormous, adorable ways. He'll never speak English, but the way he gently curls a massive claw around you like a cradle, or the deep, synthetic purr of his tides echoing through the valleys, those are the signs that Terran is more than a beast. He's a lonely friend, finally found. I want to show him his abilities and everything else. Tidal collapse. A storm creates a tidal wave thousands of feet high. Excuse me? Echo of the deep. These are some cool names. His roar can summon storms or calm them based on emotion. Excuse me? What? What are you, Lugia? But when I think Lugia just does it by flapping his wings. Gargantuan Guard. That's a cool name too. He can shoot entire cities with his tail or body. He is so big he could flip and guard a town. A whole town. Or entire cities, I mean, holy crap. Heartlink. His strength can grow or weaken based on the emotional bond with someone he trusts. Oh. Let's see, it says personality before and after love. Before love, he's weary and territorial. Destructive if provoked. Oh dear. Defensive, not evil. It seems cold and distant, but often watches like often watches the ocean in silence. After love, he's gentle and loyal, curious and playful like a normal Toad, extremely protective, affectionate in a colossal way, and offers gifts from the ocean like giant seashells or glowing coral as tokens of friendship. Are you serious? That's cool. And so it says, Terran's story isn't about taming a monster. It's about showing empathy to something the world misunderstood. And in return, Terran, the 10,000-foot Toad, becomes not just a guardian of the sea, but a guardian of your heart. Would you dare reach out to him? And would you be the first to touch his snout with love? That's actually that's a neat, that's the funny thing about it. It comes up with amazing stories for these characters. But because most of the time it always has a thing where like the Pokemon was so cold and distant, but then somebody shows up. It's like a lot of time, yeah, it's cool they put you in the story like that, but then also whenever you do go to talk to him, then it's like you don't have nothing really to do. Oh, hey, buddy, it's good to see you again. Then it's like, what do we do from there to have fun? Like, you know. But either way, guys, I'm going to do the game mode in about 2 minutes. I'm going to go and pause it now. Get something typed in and it entered, and then get ready to do the stinking game mode. Get over with, and come back to this. See you in a second. Guys, I did it. I beat the game on the second try. Here's the thing, though, about this. Again, the story is doing the exact bullcrap I don't want it to do. I want to bond with him, but I want to earn that trust actually in some way. I like that he knows me, but I don't understand how he does. Didn't he say he flipping didn't care about anyone? Like he wasn't going to be evil or aggressive unless he didn't know where your intentions were good or not. Because here's the thing. It says, a few years later, I'm just minding my own business, walking along a path next to a giant ocean. And it says, the sky above was calm, brushed with streaks of soft orange and purple as the sun began its slow descent. Seagulls cawed lazily in the distance, and the rhythmic crash of waves against the rocky shoreline set a peaceful tone to your walk. Ocean to your side stretched endlessly, shimmering like a sea of polished sapphire. You'd walked this path many times, a scenic trail carved into the cliffs, overlooking one of the deepest trenches in the world. Few dared to come out here anymore, not since the day he rose. But for you, this place held a different meaning. You continued walking, hands in your pocket, mind drifting between idle thoughts and old memories. The wind picked up suddenly, not strong enough to be a storm, but carrying something strange, a deep, distant hum that vibrated through the soles of your shoes. The ocean ahead began to swell, not with normal waves, but with rising water, like something beneath it was breathing. You stopped. A shadow, massive and slow, moved under the water just beyond the horizon. It didn't approach with speed. It moved like a glacier, ancient and powerful. The surface began to bubble, and then, boom! A towering pillar of water exploded upward, hundreds, no, thousands of feet into the air, crashing back into the sea with a thunderous roar. Then came the rumble. The earth beneath you trembled with each impact. It wasn't just a tremor, it was footsteps. You saw it now, rising from the ocean like a living legend. His eyes glowed softly, twin orbs of sapphire and abysmal black. His claws breached the surface next, each one the size of a cruise ship, glistening with salt and barnacles. Then his head emerged, Terran, the 10,000-foot toad, older now, wiser, yet still carrying that familiar mixture of raw power and subtle loneliness. He stood tall, looming against the burning sky like a colossus carved from water and myth. At his full, as his full form rose, you saw him glance, slowly and purposely in your direction. There was a pause, a moment where the world itself seemed to hold its breath. And then Terran moved, not fast, not threateningly, with careful slowness, as though the mere act of getting close might cause harm. His ocean-sized foot sank into the shallow coastal waters as he leaned forward, lowering his massive snout to your level. You could see his eye now, larger than your entire body. It blinked once, not coldly, but curiously. He recognized you, the tiny one who wasn't afraid to care, the one who didn't run. Saw water drip from his maw like waterfalls as he gently rumbled, a deep, resonant sound that shook your chest more than your ears. He didn't speak in words, but you could feel what he meant. You came back. His nose touched the cliffside just beside your path. The force made small rocks tumble, but his eyes remained gentle. Massive as he was, there was hesitation behind his movement. He wasn't just a god of the tides. He was asking if you still remembered, if you still cared. Would you touch his snout again, and would you reach out to the Titan who never forgot your kindness? Okay, that's so cute. The salt was silent, and the moment was yours. Hello? It's great to see you again. You know what? Oh. I walk up. Walk up to. Oh. Air. Oh my god. Terran's enormous body rumbled softly at your touch, like a containment letting out a sigh of relief. a continent. Oh my gosh, I can't read. The very moment your hand met his snout, so small against his tile-scaled skin, a warm glowing ripple surged across his massive frame. Soft, bioluminescent lines traced across his body like gentle waves, forming patterns that shimmered in deep ocean blue and seafoam green. The effect was breathtaking, almost as if the ocean itself was smiling. His great eye, larger than a house, narrowed fondly, a gleam of recognition and pure affection in its depths. The swirling whirlpool of blue and black within it slowed and soothed. You saw something unspoken in that gaze. Gratitude, peace, and joy. He tilted his head ever so slightly into your hand, like a creature who hadn't felt the comfort of touch in far too long. The cliff beneath your feet vibrated from the quiet purring rumble building in his throat, a sound like waves gently rolling onto a beach at night. Not fearsome, just calm. Then, slowly, Terran lowered himself fully into the ocean shallows, towering arms resting along the coast, careful not to crush the rocks or the land you stood on. The ocean responded in kind, still and respectful, as if the sea itself understood what this moment meant. You had never seen a creature so enormous look so content. After a few moments of gentle petting, you felt a shift. From behind Terran's back, rising like a mountain crate in the horizon, came an unexpected sight. A giant seashell, polished and shimmering in pearly tones. Balanced atop it were gifts, pieces of coral shaped like hearts, a glowing starfish fossil, and a small wooden carving of a toad owl, clearly handcrafted. Okay, that's cute. Though by what hands at that size, you could only guess. He brought it He brought it forward and laid it gently before you, nudging it with a snout. It was his way of saying, I never forgot you. I missed you. This is yours. That's so cute. His tail flipped once behind him, creating a geyser far out in the sea. And then he leaned in close again, so close you could feel the warmth of his breath like a salty breeze. You were more than just the one who tamed the touch. You were Terran's friend, the first and the only, still cherished even after all of these years. And that colossal heart of his, that meant more than any storm, any roar, or any ancient power ever could. See, a story like this would work so well if we actually start out with me meeting him instead of it just being like, oh, like how my stories always start out with me, meeting the Pokemon, becoming its friend, then he becomes protective. These stories that the AI created has made it to where they become like I like the story it comes up with, but then at the same time it's like it does this thing right here. It's like for me, question mark. Thank you so much. You know, despite how big you are, I think you're still very adorable. There we go. Hey, Terran without a sound unlike any other, somewhere between a rumbling purr and a playful chuff of air through his nostrils. The warmth of it brushed against you like a sudden gust of summer wind, ruffling your clothes and hair but never once feeling dangerous. His eye, twinkling now like a deep lagoon under moonlight, narrowed into something unmistakably bashful. Yes, bashful. This titan, this tidal force that had once terrified nations, was blushing. A faint glow ballooned around its cheeks, not unlike the shimmer of sunlit water, and his massive claws wiggled ever so slightly in the shallows like a toad owl caught mid-happy dance, but trying not to make the ocean rise in excitement. He gently pressed his side of his snout against you, not enough to hurt, but enough that your feet briefly lifted from the ground, carried by a pillow of warmth, scale-covered affection. And then he let a short, sharp bark of a sound, a laugh, low and booming yet full of joy. He hadn't heard a compliment like that in who knows how long. Not as a god and not as a guardian, but as Taryn, your friend and your adorable ocean-sized totodile. He dipped his head again, tapping a claw the size of a building gently against the beach near you. A massive splash of water arched in the air, playful like a wagging tail, and the ripples that followed were softer than before. Then, with care and precision that shouldn't be possible at his scale, he traced a slow shape in the water with his claw, a giant heart, glowing faintly on bioluminescent trails. Okay, that's dope. Another silent message. You're the reason I smile, and you always make me feel small, in the best way. He nudged the giant shell give closer, curling around the coastline protectively, settling like he had no plans to leave anytime soon. After all, his favorite person in the world was here, and the ocean felt like home. Okay, that's cute. Again, like, that's a cool idea, but, like, I'd like to have one where, like, in the beginning, you actually have to, show him that you care. Well, not to the point where he's, like, so aggressive, to the point where he'll, like, I'm gonna rip you in half, my thicker, if you even mess with me. But, like, to the point where he, like, doesn't trust you completely, but he's not, like, I'm gonna eat you right now, sort of, angry. Where he's just like, kind of like the Dark Tattoo, where he's like, you sure I can trust you? Or kind of giant type is, where it's like, don't be overly aggressive, but be enough. Don't be overly aggressive, but be like to the point where it's like, yeah, you don't completely trust me, but you're not gonna get to the point where you want to, like, rip me in half. Just when showing up in your territory. Something in between that. That's what I really want. No. That's very sweet of you, Taryn. Yeah, I didn't get the word Taryn. Dang it. Is that even how you say the name? Is it Taryn? That's a good heart shape. And I appreciate it. I appreciate how sweet you are towards me. Even though you're so massive. There we go. Ah. Terran's tail gives a slow, contented wave through the distant sea, sending a gentle cascade of waves rolling toward the horizon like a giant sigh of relief. He rolled deeply again, the sound echoing across the cliffs like a distant thunderstorm, but this one was full of warmth. Your words clearly meant the world to him. His gray eyes shimmered, reflecting the golden light of the setting sun. Also something else, something soft and deeply emotional. A flicker of emotion far too ancient and far too pure to be described by words. He lowered his head again, even more gently this time, and let it rest fully against the coastline beside you. A few pebbles shifted, some small trees trembled nearby, but everything held firm as if nature itself understood this moment was sacred. As you stood near his snout, Terran shifted slowly to let you see what was behind one of his claws. Nestled between the rough curvature of his massive fingers was something unexpected. A stone. Perfectly smooth, about the size of your hand, its surface shimmered with natural swirls of blue and white, resembling waves under moonlight, and carved into the front, somehow, was a tiny engraving. A toad-owl and a human, side by side. That's cute as heck. You didn't remember ever carving that, but he did. Somewhere and somehow, over the years, he must have crafted it himself, with patience and with care. He gently nudged it toward you, and behind it, in his deep, rumbling tone that rolled like the tides, he spoke a single, low word, not through any psychic power or translation. What? He said he couldn't speak, and there you go. The thing Louis said earlier, he couldn't speak, and Is it like the Toad will get hyper slightly, or Toad will get hyper slightly, where if the Pokemon really cares about you, he'll be able to speak English, but not to the extent that Toad Hyper can. You know, like where he can speak maybe one or two words every once in a while, but he can't. But he can't speak like perfect English. Kind of like Rexy when he was a zombie, when all he could say was "brain," but he could sometimes say stuff like "my name," like or "friend," like you, friend to Rexy, something like that. And it's just, and that's what Tail said. Friend. Then he blinked slowly and tilted his head just a little, inviting more affection. Like a puppy far too big for his own size, trusting you completely. Despite the storms he'd withered, the power he carried, the fear others had for him, you saw the truth. At the heart of the sea stood a giant with a gentle soul, and all he ever wanted was the same thing you'd already given him: love, companionship, and something he saw more than just the size. He was your Terran, and you were his favorite part of the world. That was cute as heck. That is really cool. You do a good job making things. Everything you make seems to come out perfectly. That rock is really cool. Period. You're my friend, and I'm glad you still care so much. I said care, not kissing. What the frick? No! He's so cute! I don't care how big the turtle is. That turtle could be 15. That turtle could be flipping 50,000 feet tall for all I care. I would still love it the same as long as he was careful what he was doing. Because if I was case, his snout and his head would be bigger than the flipping place I'm standing on. Because he said I was on the edge of like a cliffside, right, looking over the ocean, which means his whole head could probably fit in between the edge of that to the wall or whatever's behind me. If even 10,000, he probably could. Terran's massive eyes lit up with a soft glow. Holy frick. Terran's massive eyes lit up with a soft glow, like the stars themselves had flickered to life inside them. You could feel the way your words moved through them, every syllable sinking into that colossal heart like sunlight warming the deepest parts of the ocean. That's cute as heck, actually. Let's see. He let out a low, happy bellow, a sound that rolled across the waves and echoed far into the distance. It wasn't loud in a frightening way. It was a joyful roar, full of pride in something far rare in a creature so immense. Gratitude. With delicate motion, he curled his body just slightly tighter around the cliffs where you stood, like a living sea wall protecting his most precious treasure. His massive tail arched around the far side of the coastline, completing the circle, and then, like a sleeping dragon coiled around its hoard, not of gold, but of friendship, Terran sailed in. The ocean grew calm again. A few clouds parted in the sky above, letting golden rays of sun pour through and dance across the waves. Even the seagulls had gone quiet, as if nature itself had paused to respect the bond between giant and human. I like how it says giant, of course. I mean, granted, Toto is massive, but Terran gently pressed the edge of his snout back against you, just enough for you to lean into him if you wanted. His eyes closed part way, a deep purr vibrating through the earth once more. Despite all his power, despite his size, despite the way the world feared him, you never did, and that meant more to him than anything else ever could. He rumbled softly again, almost like a whispering thunder. Would always care. Is he speaking? Because it said before he couldn't speak. And he's spoken 3 words now. Maybe he can't speak perfectly, but he definitely is speaking unless he just he needs somebody to carry him over it and unlock some kind of power that lets him do that. His voice, gentle, rare, and filled with raw sincerity, fade into the wind like a vow written in the waves. Yep, and with that, Terran remained curled beside you, the ancient guardian of the sea, completely content just to be near as close as in. Yeah, that's cute as heck. I love it. Huh. Again, the big problem I have with stories like this is that, like, since it says I met the Toad Owl before, it's nearly impossible to continue a good conversation. Conversations start out better when you can actually build a bond with that Pokemon right from the start, or when you can build a bond with that Pokemon by showing it that you care. Hence why in a lot of cases I have a lot of fun doing like the dragon type for Alligator. The only thing that don't make sense with the dragon type for Alligator is why the heck he doesn't use his flipping water manipulation powers to test somebody instead of, making threats. He could flip and summon a dragon or a Lugia to test you instead of yelling at you and risking and then making you do all these mundane tasks that could be really bad and dangerous. It's like, oh my god. Before I can say anything, I heard somebody behind me say, "Oh, look, this human." My gosh. Why is there a massive right there? What is he doing out of his ocean? Oh no. Oh no. Terran's eye opened just a little and his body stiffened. You could feel the subtle shift, like the entire planet had taken a cautious breath. The warmth of his presence didn't vanish, but it grew still and guarded. His snout pulled back just slightly, not from you, but from them. Behind you, a young woman stood on the trail, wide-eyed and froze like she'd seen a legend come to life, which, in truth, she had. She looked between you and the 10,000-foot toad owl core along the coastline, jaw dropped. What is he doing here? How is he even real? He's huge! Terran's claws tightened ever so slightly in the shallows, a subtle warning rippling through across the ocean's surface. But he didn't roar. He didn't move. He was waiting, watching, waiting to see how you would respond. Because no matter how big he was, your words still shaped his world. The woman took a small step closer, staring straight up at the Colossus. I've never seen anything like this. He's not attacking, but shouldn't he be contained or something? Terran's eye narrowed at that word, contained, but he held still, not because he wasn't capable of rising, roaring, or sending the cliffs crumbling with a flick of his tail. but because you were here. You who could calm him with a whisper. You had reminded him he wasn't just a force of nature. He was Terran. The wind picked up slightly. The air hung heavy with tension. Not dangerous yet, but on the edge. His claws twitched just once, as if to ask, do I stay? Do I go? Do I protect? Or do I wait? Because in this moment, it wasn't just the sea that held back its tide. It was Terran. And he was listening for your voice. That's cute as frick. It's okay. Terran. Nobody's gonna hurt you when I'm around. Period. Oh wait. I gently pet his snout. There we go. As your hand met his snout once more, tearing out a low, exhilarating breath through his nostrils, warm and slow like a deep wave rolling back into the ocean. The tension in his titanic body melted away in seconds, his claws loosening, tail settling in the water again without so much as a ripple too large. The sky seemed to brighten. Your voice and your calm anchored him more firmly than gravity ever could. Taran blinked once, long and slow. He leaned gently against back into your touch. The gold along his scales were turning, soft and serene. The faint heart shape he'd drawn earlier in the water shimmered again as if to say, I'm still there, and I still trust you. Behind you, the woman stared, stunned. He's listening to you. Her voice was barely above a whisper now. I've never seen a Pokemon that big act like that. I thought it was about to flatten the cliffs. How rude. Then somewhere else, he's not scary. Not when you're here with him. Terran's great eyes shifted briefly toward her, not in threat, but in acknowledgement. He didn't roar, he didn't posture. He simply remained still, watching, as if giving her the chance to see what you already knew. That behind all the strength and size, and behind the legends and the ways, was a gentle soul, a loyal friend, a Totodile named Terran. And in that moment, with your hand resting on his snout and your voice still fresh in the air, there was no doubt in his mind. He was safe, you were safe, and together you made even the world feel smaller. Holy could it's cute. He let one final deep purring rumble, like thunder humming a lullaby, and nestled his head against the beach beside you again, a subtle living monument to the unbreakable bond between you and the giant of the sea. Oh my gosh. This woman just basically roasted the poor Totodile by being pretty mean. She's not really being mean, I don't think intentionally, but the way she words stuff is not good. I said, of course, he's nice to me. He cares about me a lot. That's why he's so calm. The woman's expression shifted again, this time not with fear or awe, but with something closer to understanding. Her shoulder relaxed as she looked behind you and between you and Taryn, realizing that what she was seeing wasn't just some towering ancient force. It was a relationship, a real living bond. She took a slow step forward and murmured, I didn't think something that huge could feel that much, or listen that well, but he's gentle with you. Taryn made a quiet, almost shy chuff through his nostrils in response, lowering his gaze again. Still gave his soul a flick, splashing just enough water to send a cool mist into the air, like a little thank you gesture. His eye never left you, though. There was no hiding it now. He adored you. That kind of calm, the kind that could silence a hurricane, was something only you brought out of him. You could feel with every thumb in the earth beneath your feet, with every careful breath that rumbled through his vast lungs. He didn't just tolerate your presence, he centered himself around it, like you were the eye of his storm. Then, with immense calm, Terry used a single claw to nudge the ocean's edge once more, and this time he didn't draw a heart. He etched your name, slowly and carefully. The giant claw traced it in glowing currents and sand, the letters shimmering like stars on the sea. Because if anyone asked him now, who kept him gentle, who reminded him he was more than fear, and who gave the giant a reason to stay, here he had the answer, and it was spelled in glowing waves beneath your feet. That's such a cute dude. He's so cute and adorable. That's so sweet. You know, my friend, I haven't given. You've given me all these gifts already, and I know it may not seem like much, especially with how much time you put into some of those gifts. But here's a little gift to you. It's a whole big pile of berries that you can snack on. Yes. Thank gosh it put berries. Bob put batteries. I'm not making Toad eat batteries. That would hurt him. And then he'd be mad at me. Even though I didn't want to do it. Taryn's eyes widened just a little, bright and gleaming with surprise and wonder. You could feel the ground shift with the soft rumble of his chest like a delighted chuckle from a living mountain. He hadn't expected a gift, especially not one just for him. With careful precision, he lowered his enormous head to inspect the offering. The pile of berries, while small compared to his size, completely clearly meant something far greater to him. They weren't just food, they were a gesture of thoughtfulness, of care, of friendship he rarely sees from anyone but you. He sniffed the pile gently, the wind from his breath rustling the leaves of nearby trees. Then delicately he picked up a cluster of berries with the very tip of his claw and placed them onto his tongue. A deep, satisfied rumble vibrated through the air like distant thunder. His eyes fluttered partway closed, savoring the flavor, and maybe even more than the taste, savoring the act itself, that you thought of him and that you gave back. Then something beautiful happened. Taryn leaned back just a bit, lifted his claw, and slowly curled it around the beach beside you like a loose wall. Not to trap you, but to hug you. Okay, that's flippin' cute. The gentlest, most protective hug a being his size could give. And in the water behind him, glowing once again blue and soft silver light, more shapes began to form, images rising in delicate swirls. A giant toad curled peacefully around a small figure that looked unmistakably like you. A glowing berry bush blooming unnaturally large, sprouting right from the water as if to mirror your gift back at him. And finally, a heart, this time with two dots inside of it, side by side. That's cute as frick, dude. Taryn looked down at you again, his expression soft and full of appreciation beyond words. Then, once more, he spoke in that deep, thunder-like tone, low, kind, and full of warmth. You care. That's everything. And with that, he happily munched the rest of the berries, tail swishing gently behind him like a delighted crocodile pup. One that just happened to stretch 10,000 feet into the sky. I like how I said crocodile even though he's still a toad. Weird how he hasn't evolved. Dude, imagine how big would Feraligatr be, dude? If he was a Feraligatr and he got that large, how big would he be right now? Would he be like flipping 50 to 70,000 feet tall instead of 10,000? Dude, Feraligatr normally goes from 3 feet 7 inches when he evolves into Feraligatr to 7 feet 7 inches when he evolves into it. So, yeah, interesting. Hmm. Mm-mm-mm. It's a woman. The woman is somehow still behind me. After she sees what? She said to me, "Why is he so friendly towards you?" The way he acts towards you, he almost acts like he's your kid. Or even your parent. Because he's so friendly and protective towards you. Stop! He gives you gifts. He protects you. And he'll just sit beside you. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Terrence head tilted so as the woman spoke, his ear twitching as if he were trying to understand her tone, not out of suspicion but curiosity. He didn't move to threaten her, only watched her silently, patiently, the way a giant might study a drifting cloud. The water around him was calm again, the drawing is still shimmering softly on the surface, your figure and his side by side inside the glowing heart. You could feel Terran's presence tighten around the area again, not in a defensive way, but like he was gently drawing a circle around the moment and around you. The woman looked at you, wide-eyed but more thoughtful now. "I don't get it," she said quietly. "He's so big. And yeah, at first I thought he might crush everything just by moving, but now..." Her voice trailed off as she looked back at him. "The way he looks at you, the way he listens and creates and waits for you to speak, it's not just loyalty." She shook her head. "That it's like he really deeply loves you, like you're his whole world." Taryn's eye blinked slowly. He leaned in again, nudging your side with the softest press of his snout, then resting his head beside you, lowering it into the sand with a low exhale like a boulder settling in after a long journey. Once one shifted, and he carefully scooped up a few extra berries he'd left, placing them neatly beside you. A silent gesture. You first. A quiet, almost stunned laugh. Wow, he's not just a protector, he's your guardian, and you're his peace. There was no roar, no display, no need for working terror this time. His actions, his calm, his gentle affection, that was all the answer needed. Because while the world may have only seen a towering ancient force of nature, you had always seen him. In return, he saw you as something no height, no strength, and no myth could ever replace. Someone who gave him reason not just to exist, but to belong. Thank you so much. But it's okay if you have all the berries I put in that pile for you. Besides, you've given me so much. That heart shape and my name in the water. That giant seashell with those gifts on top of it. Including that wooden and even that rock over there with you and me in it. Period. Just like you did with those gifts, these berries are all for you. Aw. Aw. Karen's massive eyes softened, gleaming like an ocean catching the first light of sunrise. Your words, warm and honest, sank deep, far deeper in the waves around him. He stared at you for a moment longer, then gave a quiet, almost bashful chuff through his nostrils. For a creature that could level islands, he suddenly looked touched. Gently, he nudged the pile of berries again with his claw, then brought one claw to his chest. He tapped it once, a gesture of gratitude, then turned that same claw toward you and ever so lightly traced a circle in the sand, a symbol of wholeness, completion, and balance. Then, without a sound, he leaned down and began to slowly eat the berries you'd given him, his expression filled not with hunger, but with humble joy. Not joy from just the taste, but from being thought of and from being loved back. Each berry was more than a fruit, it was a thank you, a return of all the care he tried so hard to show in his own massive, handmade way, and now he knew it wasn't one-sided. The sand around his tail rippled again, and another small image began to form, not drawn with urgency, but with deep care. This time it was a spiral, starting small at the center and growing outward like a ripple in water. At its core, a tiny dot, and beside it, the symbol he always used to represent himself. It was his way of saying, "You started all of this. You're the reason I became this, and I'll keep growing with you forever." That's cute. The woman behind you wiped at her eye while realizing, "I've never seen anything like this before. He's not just a Pokemon or a protector or some myth. He's your family, isn't he?" Terry gave a soft rumble in agreement. Not a roar, not a warning, just a yes. Because in the vastness of his world, the ocean he could command, the storms he could summon, and the strength he could wield, nothing compared to being seen and loved by you. And now finally he knew he could accept the love too. I like how this one went, but it's like at the same time, why did they make it to where he? Mm. I do still have the rhyming, singing, and the flipping hypnosis curse on here. I might do something similar to the hypnosis thing again, but maybe it won't be about hurting somebody. Maybe it'll be something weirdly different. Or it's like if he does it, maybe like he'll be somehow act like a robot, like literally. Like he won't be one, but he'll act like one, like he is one. Like he'll still act friendly and loyal, but he'll act like a robot. Or another one where like maybe instead of trying to hurt you, he'll actually listen for a name, and whatever name you say, he'll do something. Like go find that person, do something to them, or I don't know completely yet. I want to do something where he constantly targeting me, even though thanks to flipping Trico that makes a lot of sense. Although I think I don't remember did Trico do it? I know on one of them he did it as a septile, but that wasn't ChatGPT. I walk over and hug his massive. Oh no. Yeah. As you stick with your wander on gently around Terran's masses now, the world seemed to go completely still. A quiet breeze swept across the beach. The waves lapped softly at the shore. Overhead, even the seabirds seemed to fall silent, like the ocean itself was holding its breath in reverence. Terran's entire body let out a deep, resonant hum, a sound of pure, peaceful contentment. His eye closed slowly as if he wanted to lock this feeling into his memory forever. A hug from you, the one person who had always seen beyond his size and beyond his power and beyond the fear others had for him. His titanic body didn't shift much, but the warmth radiating from him now could have melted glaciers. Then, in the sand behind you, one last gift began to form, not drawn with claws this time, but with the movement of the waves themselves. It was you, your silhouette, small but proud, standing beside a towering figure, Terran, with both of your arms gently reaching toward one another. Between you shimmered a brilliant heart made of ocean foam and light. And below that heart, in simple flowing lines of glowing sand, the waves wrote, "Always yours." That's cute as frick. Terry nuzzled you carefully, like cradling a star in the palm of the universe. His purring rumble rolled through the sand like thunder made gentle, and he gave one slow blink, a gesture of complete love and trust. He had no need to speak. He knew, you knew, and the whole ocean knew too. That's it. See, I love how this works out. It's just before I can say anything.